Good evening and welcome to another edition of Washington County Flag Football Live. I'm your host, Joey Bassford, here tonight for another new episode. Give a couple updates. Feeling a lot better than I was last week. Should be good to go this week. I'll definitely be there Saturday for at least 4 of the games. I plan on going home early before the Spartans affiliates game. So let's get to the results for the last week because I missed out on a lot, so forgive me. The recap here is not going to be very good. But to go forward, X-Dogs beat the Knights 32-20. Warriors over Assassins 34-0. Ruckus 13, the program nothing. A lot of zeros on the board this last week. Not the super Saturday that we were all hoping it to be. The closest game ended up being that Ruckus program game. Or no, I should say Knights and X-Dogs. 12 points being the margin. Top Gun 18, Spartans nothing. Top Gun with the win, clinched her A bracket spot. First ever appearance in the A bracket. Granted, they did play for the league championship tournament back in spring of 2016 before the current format was established. That was back when you could go 0-9 and win the entire league, not just the B bracket. Good times. And the final game of the day, the big one. TMT defeated the affiliates 26-10. TMT has clinched the number 1 overall seed in the A bracket. This is the most points affiliates have allowed all season, 26. The highest mark before that was 18 against the Red Knights. Big-time victory for TMT. This was their signature win. This was a game where they led the entire time. They dominated for the most part, and they came away with a victory, holding the affiliates below their average on offense, while also, I want to say they almost times it by 9 because the AFN was coming in allowing only about 3 points per game. They allow 26. That's almost 9 times the amount of points they allow per game. That is just crazy. TMT still dominant, still undefeated, and of course they'll stay number 1 in the not just the power rankings, but of course the A bracket as well. Which, speaking of the rankings, let's get to it. Number 11 will be the Brunswick Assassins, 0-8 on the year. Failed to gain their first win of the year as Year 1 growing pains continued in the form of yet another shutout loss, their 6th of the season. Number 10 is the Greencastle Antrim Spartans, 1-7. The Spartans offense seemingly had a renaissance against the X-Dogs, but they returned right back to form against Top Gun. Not a very good game. You put up 21 week and then 0 the next. I don't know what went on Saturday, but just not the same team. Number 9 is the Warriors, 1-8. They earned their 2nd win in franchise history and set a record for most points in the game with a 34-0 thrashing of the Assassins. Just not even close. I thought it could be a closer game with Warriors pulling away late, but this was just one-sided from what I'm reading. Number 8 was the program, 3-6 on the year. They have officially been eliminated from A bracket contention. This is the first time that the program will not be playing for the league championship in franchise history. They made the A bracket the last 2 seasons, and of course there was a spring of 2016 where the entire league was eligible. But for this year, the program not going to make it in. They will be in the B bracket. It's just a matter of what's going to end up being whether they win or not come this Saturday, and what is mostly an irrelevant game. We'll get to that in a moment. Number 7 is the Red Knights at 4-4 in the year. Their 2nd consecutive loss. Number 6 is Ruckus, who is also 4-4, but they have their 2nd consecutive win. So you have 2 teams of Red Knights and Ruckus, one who is clearly rising and getting better, and the other that's starting to fade down the stretch. They will also meet Saturday, so keep an eye on that one as we get to the predictions in a moment. Number 5 is Top Gun at 5-3. They've clinched an A bracket spot for the first time in franchise history. They will be playing for the league championship for the first time since the spring of 2016 as well. Number 4 is the X-Dogs, 6-2. 3 is 6-2. Connection problems? Not surprised. From what I'm gathering, it's my side and your side. Antietam cable is very lousy. I hardwired my laptop, so if it's not going through, I apologize. Hopefully it gets better for some of you watching. Number 3 is Broad Act 6-2. They were on by this week. They will return Saturday against the program. Number 2, the affiliates, 7-1 on the year. Like I said, most points surrendered all season by a major margin. It's amazing seeing how TMT handled that defense. And with that, they clinched the number 2 seed in the A bracket. And of course, number 1, once again, still up top, TMT at 8-0. They've clinched number 1 in not just the A bracket, but for the final regular season power rankings. This is the last one we'll do. There will not be one going into playoffs. It's almost irrelevant to do so. Instead, we're going to do one final overall league ranking in about 3 weeks following the championship games. The teams in the B bracket will be ranked 11th through 7th, and the teams ranked in the A bracket will be 6th through 1st. So we'll see how it goes and roll from there. More on that in a couple of weeks. We'll have an idea what it's going to look like. And so let's get the predictions for Saturday. Not really a good Saturday coming ahead. This is kind of a mute point week. Not much is on the line, especially except for mostly at this point, pride. Now, depending on who you are, this Saturday could be useful for you because of the fact that teams do need a little bit extra practice going into the playoffs. But if your other teams, this Saturday could serve what purpose? Injury risks that happen. A team that you might end up playing in the playoffs gets a good idea of what you do, and it could also end up just being an absolute waste travel-wise for it to come far away. It all depends on perspective and what you're trying to achieve. For example, the Assassins will play Top Gun first. That's going to be a 9 a.m. kickoff. For the Assassins, it's a nice little attempt to get stuff right before the playoffs. Nothing's going right all season. They're 0-8. If they lose this one, it'll be 0-9. And to Top Gun, this is very familiar, actually. So a bit of an ominous note with those two, especially considering what happened last year with Top Gun. They were also getting beaten up pretty badly. They also going to move the ball to save their life. And they were looking like they were dead in the water going to the B bracket playoff. And it seemed that way, too, until they rose up and they knocked off the Ducks in the semifinals and then took down the Spartans in the championship. And suddenly here they are. From an 0-9 train wreck to a team that's potentially about to get their 6th win of the season, doubles their franchise margin all time on terms of regular season, and will be the number 5 seed in the playoffs, which is regardless of what happens here. Top Gun does not have a tiebreaker on X-Dogs or Broad Axe. They lost to both teams. At the same time, Ruckus and Red Knights cannot surpass them. So in a way, this is a bit of a practice. Get out early while you can. Get some reps in preparation for your big game next week against either Broad Axe or X-Dogs. That'll be determined. But if you're the Assassins, like I said, if there's a time to get it right, it's this week. Get it right this week. Come in the next week for ready to go, and you'll be fine. As for Top Gun, get out of Dodge early. Try to avoid injuries. Don't worry about trying to win 60-0. Worry about scoring enough that you can just drain the clock and get out injury-free and everything else before the bigger game a week later. As for this game, Top Gun is superior on both sides of the ball, provided they can move the ball on offense. Their defense is more than capable of stopping the Assassins, but their offense needs to get the ball rolling. Should not be a problem for them, as the Assassins are surrendering 34 points per game. I'm going to go with Top Gun by 3 touchdowns because of that. Like I said, get home and rested because next Saturday is going to be even worse. Next Saturday, you're going to feel like you went from practice against the Assassins to the Super Bowl with whoever you draw, whether it be X-Dogs or Broad Axe, which I'll get to that scenario in a moment. As for the next game, a 10:30 a.m. kickoff. This one is the game of the week, in my opinion, if only because of the fact that this is virtually the appetizer before playoffs. Number 7 Red Knights versus number 6 Ruckus, 10:30 a.m., as I mentioned. I will have this game on live stream. I did mention I am covering all the playoff games. I'm going to try to get at least 2 on my phone because I don't think my charger can really hold up for long enough. Everything else might have to be volunteered. This will be the first one in the playoffs, in my opinion. This is the 11th meeting all-time between both squads. The Knights lead the series 7-3. This will be actually the 4th time they've played this year. Ruckus defeated the Knights 15-6 in the spring regular season. Then the Knights defeated Ruckus. I want to say the score is 24-6 in the Ocean City tournament. And Ruckus also defeated the Knights 20-12 in the league semifinals last year. Winner is in the A bracket. The loser goes to the B bracket. So a lot at stake in this game. The key match will be in the trenches. Each team is very similar on terms of how they play. This is not the same Knights team that Ruckus played in the spring, but I feel like the result's going to stay the same. I'm going to go with Ruckus by a touchdown. I feel their athletes in the secondary are superior to the Knights wideouts, and that they should outflank them on offense. But the trench war is going to be the key here. If the Knights are able to get enough of a pass rush to give Scotty issues, I can see Ruckus offense stagnating hard again. But I can say the same for Andy. Both guys are big targets in the backfield. Edge rushers will come in a big way in that game. But for the moment, I'm going to go Ruckus by a touchdown. They get back to the A bracket. They win their 3rd straight, and they get ready for a tough battle with either Broadaxe or X-Dogs. Which, speaking of X-Dogs, they will take on TMT at 12 p.m. This will be the 2nd meeting between both squads, the 1st in league play. TMT defeated the X-Dogs in the Hagerstown City Tournament quarterfinals last fall at the B bracket. This is not the same Dogs, however, for the most part. Matt Eisenberg did not play in that game. At the time, he was nursing his injured knee. So that game is not quite the best frame of reference for this one. That being said, this is also the same TMT that played in that tournament last year. So it's going to be 2 fresh teams facing off, but 2 of the same franchise as a whole. This one has something at stake to a degree. The X-Dogs could clinch the number 3 seed, but they need a win and a Broadaxe loss. However, even if they lose this game, they can't really fall below number 4. It's all about whether you want to play Top Gun or the winner of Knights Ruckus. TMT is locked into the number 1 seed no matter what, so it's a question of how will each side treat this game. Are the X-Dogs content with the 4th seed? Is TMT going to try and show the X-Dogs something, try to play 100%? Because there's a very good chance, with the way this bracket works out, we could see this game in 2 weeks again. For real this time. Not saying this game's not for real, because it is. It's just a question of how much of each team you're going to really get in this one. And I think it's going to depend on how each side treats it. The Dogs still have something to play for, but there's no home field advantage. So it's not as if they win this game and Broadaxe loses, they'll play in Newville the next week. It's more so who they'd rather play. Would they rather play Top Gun or would they rather play the Ruckus or Knights? You choose, X-Dogs. As for this one, I expect X-Dogs to possibly come out and ball, but like I said, it all depends. As for TMT, they might come out and play too, just because of the principle of it. I could see an upset here because I think the X-Dogs offense is capable of putting up points, but I feel the Dogs defense will be able to contain TMT's offense. It's going to be a feel-out game for the most part because I sincerely believe we'll see this again in 2 weeks, and you don't want to show way too much. I'm leaning towards TMT by a touchdown. This won't be as easy as last fall, but I think they come away with a win in a perfect regular season. We'll see, though. The 4th meeting of the day will be the program, number 8 in the league versus number 3 Broadaxe at 1:30 p.m. 9th meeting between both squads. 4th as the program since their establishment. Broadaxe is 8-0 all-time, 3-0 against the actual franchise known as the program. Prior to that, some of them were Nighthawks. Broadaxe defeated the program 26-14 last spring. The program has already clinched number 2 seed in the B bracket. Win or lose, they will remain there. Broadaxe will win, clinches number 3 seed. But a loss falls to number 4. Which, like I said, it depends. Same with the X-Dogs game. Is Broadaxe worried about who they play next week, or are they just worried about resting up going into a tougher playoff scenario? This is going to be the battle between 2 of the best defensive lines in the league. a problem for the program is their offensive line has been very unimpressive all season. Line play will be key to Broadac's win. Their O-line may have a fight on their hands, but their defensive line should dominate. I'm going to go Broadax by 3 touchdowns behind a destructive defensive line. And then finally, our last game of the day and the final game of the regular season, number 10, the Greencastle Ranch Spartans versus number 2 affiliates, 3 p.m. kickoff, first ever meeting between both squads. AFN is locked for the number 2 seed in the A bracket no matter what. They have nothing to play for at this stage. Spartans locked to the number 3 seed no matter what in the B bracket. So really, this is just going to be a warm-up game for both squads going to the tournament. This is one last shot of putting together something, practicing things you haven't done yet, and seeing what you may or may not have going into next Saturday. AFN's defense should dominate, and I think they will. It really depends on how much effort each side puts into this game. AFN going 100, to me, wins by 5 touchdowns. But if they take it a little easier, I'm going to say 2 or 3. I just feel like their defense is way too much for a Spartans offense that can't move the ball very well, if at all. And I feel like they're going to use this game, if anything, to get more reps in, to get ready for a much bigger matchup in 2 weeks, which they'll either play Broadax, Ruckus, or Red Knights, or even X-Dog still. It's still up in the air. The only team who can't move in the only team who's kind of just locked into their place in the A bracket aside from TMT and affiliates is Top Gun. So that's it for today. I'll be back on Saturday. Hopefully have a much better recap in a few weeks. I will be there for at least 4 games. If anybody wants me to volunteer for filming, I can. The one game I will have it to guarantee is Ruckus versus Red Knights. So for now, I'm signing off. Enjoy your evening. And right on up this Saturday to the Marty Snook Park for a fun football frenzy here in the Washington County Flag Football League. Peace.